How's it going, people? The Unstable here, and I'm going to introduce you to a well, this is going to be a specific topic here. This is just going to be a bit of domination on jungle, where I'm just going to kill a load of people with the G11. It's quite good, and I just, you know, I'm spawn killing as well, so do enjoy the video. But this is actually going to be a little kind of you know, trilogy series, and the reason it is because this is going to be part 1 of 3 parts. And it's going to be sex, love, and relationship. And this first part here is going to be talking mostly about sex. Right, it actually will be talking about sex. Sex in itself. Now, there are obviously many different ways to describe sex. There's, you know, there's oral sex, there's sexual intercourse, and there's anal sex. And again, there's nothing wrong with all 3 of them. Anal sex is an extremely overrated experience, and what I mean by that is that it's just extremely overrated. There's no in between on it. It is extremely overrated, and it is extremely you know, it's not the greatest of thing. You know, you probably will get a better you probably enjoy just the straight up sex itself. So, but in regards to sex, now, each person has their own different like styles of sex. You know, some like it rough, some like it soft, some like it hard, some like it fast, some like it slow. You know, every single person has their own different ways about dealing with it, and accepting it. And the one thing that you've got to understand is that when you're having sex with someone, you can either have sex in 2 different ways. You can either have sex where you don't give a shit about what they think, or you can either have sex where you do give a shit about what they think. If you are having sex with someone and you don't give a shit about what they think, then the objective on that note, and it is the only objective, is basically to end it as quickly as possible, like to get it over and done with as soon as possible. That's the general mind. This is just an opinion, guys. I might be completely fucking wrong, but generally, guys who don't give a shit about what the person they're having sex with, or, you know, I think, I'm not too sure if it's the same applies for women. Is it? Yeah. Same applies for women as well, as my other half has just pointed out. You know, so it does work both ways. If they generally don't give a shit about, you know, if they don't give a shit about you know, how you feel about sex, then it ain't gonna make a difference. You know, they're just gonna try and get it over and done with as quickly as possible. But if they do give a shit, this is where it gets really difficult. You kind of want to make them really, that's where you kind of want to make an effort, and that's where you try, you know, you try new things. You also you know, and just this is something as well, yeah. And you know, I'm not going to sit there and deny it, because I think everyone's done it here. But, you know, in a general world, most guys generally have to sort of hold back in terms before they finish. And this is true to it as well. Sometimes it can get a little too exciting, and you just genuinely, you know, want to finish. So you have to kind of hold back a bit more. You have to kind of be like, oh, I don't want to finish just yet, because, you know, you don't want them to, you want them to experience more. You don't want them to think that, you know, you're a premature ejaculator, you know. And again, there are many things as well with sex, like in terms of you know, there are some really nasty things about sex. Like the nasty side of sex is, and it's actually not the physical element of sex, it's more of the emotional element of sex. Especially if you're having sex with someone and they I'm gonna say versions on 2 different sides here. I'm gonna do it from obviously male point of view, because I am male. The worst thing for a man to hear from a woman during sex is the words, is it in yet? That is a general, like, very disheartening, that is, and you kind of sit there and like, okay. And that word and the other word, the other phrase, which generally comes at the end, is that it? You know, those are the 2 kind of not heartbreaking, but they can really kind of destroy. What's the word?
Discontent?
No, not discontent. Fuck is she on discontent? I can't think of the word. oh damn, it'll come back to me. You know, it basically like your morale, you know, it really kind of just you sink to a low near enough, and you're like, damn, that's like harsh. And you know, that's just something from a man. From a woman, now I'm again not too sure, but I would probably, I'm gonna have to second guess here. But if a guy turns around and, you know, makes a reference, a comment about the size of her bits, you know, on how wide it is, I dare say that would probably really kind of take a woman, or she'll really be quite like hit by that. You know, that would quite probably offend her quite a lot.
Doesn't for me.
It may not for her, but that's my other half's special, you know. But in a generalised way, you know, there are some things like, you know, I can't really think. I'd probably say like smell as well might be a killer. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I would say so.
You know, if a guy turns around and says to a bird that, you know, that's a bit fishy, probably not the right. That you're probably like, oh, I'm having sex. Am I going to be having sex with a cod? No, you're not. I won't go into that. That's too much. But like I said, in a generalised way, we all have different ways of having sex, and, you know, different kind of expectations of sex. Don't expect anal sex to be any good. Don't expect it to be the greatest thing in the world. All sex. Now, here's something. This is kind of a hit and miss for me. And the reason it's hit and miss for me is because I kind of don't understand the ways in which people say this. Like for example, when it comes to oral sex, I'm pretty much quite placid with my oral sex. I say placid, it's just a word I like. I generally will try out most things. And this is more aimed at women. And the reason it's more aimed at women is because I think it's more along to women than it is to men. Men haven't got a problem going down on a woman, or, you know, inserting a few things into a woman. But for a female, or for a woman itself, there is a certain amount of fear for them to, in effect, give a man oral, especially when it comes to, you know, going down on them and sucking them off. Generally, most of the women are quite scared of it, and I've heard some really fucked up excuses before, and I kind of find them quite hilarious, because some of them are quite, you know, well, hang on, that don't make sense. How can you honestly sit there and say that if you haven't tried it? It's the thing, yeah. Don't sit there and say something is crap, right, or it's boring or something, if you haven't fucking tried it. Okay, that's just a tip for me. You know, if you haven't tried it, you know, I've pretty much been on the experience ladder myself, and I know majority. I've tried pretty much everything. I say pretty much everything because there's, you know, I don't partake in the illicit, disgusting stuff in this world, but nonetheless. But some women actually generally just don't like doing it, and they give some random excuse. Oh, you know, it's disgusting, it's vile. You know, unless you've actually tried it, you know, don't sit there and knock it. Never knock something you haven't tried, because believe it or not, it can be probably the greatest experience ever. But anyways, people, the game's come to an end, and hopefully you've enjoyed. Please do tune in for part 2, where I'm going to be talking about love. This is Unstable. I am off. So cool beans.